So as long as I can remember, I've always been fascinated by how disease happens in the human body and how a problem in one organ then creates this domino effect to get a whole other set of problems. When I was a little kid, I was very thirsty for knowledge, and I had access to my mom's university science textbooks. And we looked at that textbook for years, and yeah, we got gum between the pages. But I still remember, pictures of fossils, and I just thought, wow, that's amazing that, people were learning things, from millions of years ago and understanding the world that way. I had a fantastic high school science teacher, Anna Bowles, a chemistry teacher, and she was very, very funny, but everything she said kind of made sense. And she broke it down in a way that if you learned some of the rules and ways of thinking, you could predict what would happen in different new scenarios. And I think I thought that kind of problem solving was a lot of fun. I did biochemistry at the University of Ottawa, and then I was hooked. I learned about how proteins work and how they fold and how they interact with other proteins. And yeah, at a micro level, you think, what's that got to do with disease? And I would say it has everything to do with disease. What does a scientist do all day? I get asked this question a lot. So what my day typically is like is talking and discussing experiments and data with people in my lab. It's usually, Valerie, look at what I found. I don't know what it means, or I tried this experiment, it didn't work, or I'm going to try this experiment, what do you think? Also, the kind of science I do, many of the experiments end up in some way, shape, or form being imaged in a microscope. And I still find looking at cells and tissues so gratifying. What I'd say to anybody considering a career in STEM is that you have to throw away your preconceived notions about who is or who isn't a scientist. There is a lot of failures, there's setbacks, there's disappointments, and there are in any profession, but in science that's true. And another thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of people won't put their hand up to ask a question because they think it's a stupid question. And what I've learned is chances are if you've thought of it, somebody else has too, so ask it. Ultimately, if we didn't have science, we wouldn't understand disease. And if we wouldn't understand disease, we wouldn't have treatments. We wouldn't have, in some instances, cures. And we wouldn't have a way to prevent disease. So I think that these advances are instrumental for keeping a healthy, active society.